Hi, everybody. Here for the Ever Upward Book Club, the second one. So this is week one. Fix my hair. This is week one of the second book club. So we'll be meeting again next Thursday. And I'll be answering any questions that you send me. And I've got some awesome questions tonight. I'm actually really excited. I want to thank my friend Kaylee and like my blogging friends in the infertility community. So it's people in the battle. It's not just like my best friend or my mom sending me questions, I promise. My friend Kaylee and Ann for sending me some really hard and controversial questions, but also some really good, funny ones too. So I'm actually really excited to go through them with you guys. And as usual, please don't hesitate to send me any questions on Facebook or at Twitter. I wonder if I just got, I better turn this on. I'm not sure if someone just tweeted me, I'm not sure of the time zone. I'm going to tweet her back and say, we're starting right now. We're starting right now. Okay, sorry. So first off, well, we launch in 3 weeks from Tuesday. Ever Upward launches in bookstores. So April 7th is the bookstore launch of Ever Upward. We will be in Barnes & Noble for sure, on Amazon, and other bookstores. If you go to your local bookstore and Ever Upward is not there, please ask. That would be amazing. I'm really kind of, every time I go by a bookstore, I simply just take a book and say, will you please take my book and give it to your book buyer? I have no idea what I'm doing. So first-time author. But so let's get to these questions because we actually have quite a bit to talk about tonight. So that's what I thought. Oh, she's trying to figure it out. Go to the links I posted. So first question, for those that are still in infertility treatments who cannot diet or exercise much, what health tips would you give as far as eating and working out? So I definitely know that like every infertility clinic does it differently and has different rules for their patients, and probably based on what your diagnosis is or what your previous journey is, there's probably very specific guidelines that your team gives you. So obviously follow your doctor's recommendations for sure. And Google is not a doctor. So as much as we like to use Dr. Google, it's not a doctor. So make sure you consult your medical team before you make any significant changes in your diet and exercise. So what I kind of really follow is, oh, she thinks she's got it. Good. I hope you're there. So and some people will not agree with this, and that's completely fine. It's what's worked for me, and honestly, it's what's worked for a lot of my clients. I follow a pretty no gluten diet, or little to no gluten diet. Like I write about in the book, I actually follow the blood type diet, which is Eat Right for Your Blood Type is the book. Dr. Diadamo is the founder of the blood type diet, and it's worked for me. It changed everything after going through infertility and when everything in my body was just out of whack from all the hormones, basically. So for me, I try to eat not much gluten in my diet. I really probably eat about 80 to 90% gluten-free diet. And I honestly do think that there's quite a bit of research out there right now to support that gluten's not good for a lot of us. But again, do what works for you. I am not a nutritionist. I have done a lot in the nutrition world, but I'm not a registered dietitian. What I oftentimes recommend to my clients who are struggling with hormone problems or weight problems and infertility is that they maybe start cutting a little bit of gluten out of their diet. So don't get me wrong, I love gluten. Oh my gosh, I love it. But I know it's not very good for me. It makes me hold on to weight and it makes my belly upset. So what I often recommend to people is that you start with replacing your starch at dinner at least 3 nights a week with something that's gluten-free. So my favorite options for that are sweet potatoes, not white potatoes. For me, white potatoes are not part of my blood type diet. It's actually an avoid for me. So I don't try not to eat white potatoes, although I will admit I had some fried potatoes tonight because we had breakfast for dinner. So the way my dad makes them is just too good. So I did cheat a little bit. But so replace a gluten-free option about 3 times a week. So the easiest ways to do this is sweet potatoes, rice, or you can do a pasta side dish. And I always use brown rice noodles for my pasta. You can get those in a lot of restaurants nowadays. They have gluten-free options for pasta noodles, which is awesome. One of the other tips that I oftentimes recommend for good diet and exercise is to make sure that you're eating at least every 4 hours. I have so many people look at me like I have 3 heads when I tell them that. My clients eat every 4 hours. That's going to maximize your metabolism. And why I think it would be helpful for people going through treatments is that when you are feeding your body and it knows that you're not starving it, and so like when your metabolism actually stays stabilized, it doesn't go into starvation mode, which puts your body into a stressful mode. And so that's my main motivation for asking patients going through infertility treatments to eat every 4 hours, just so that their body doesn't kind of have a dip and freak out in reality. I know exercise for a lot of people is the tricky part when it comes to infertility treatments, because a lot of doctors don't recommend strenuous exercise when you're going through treatments. So walking can get really boring. Ways that you can make walking not so boring: music, obviously. I think you can also talk on the phone and get some of your conversations out and connect with your loved ones, because we're really busy and we're not connecting enough. You can also practice mindful walking or meditation walking. There's a couple apps that actually, or things on YouTube that you can actually play when you're doing a walk, and it helps you to learn how to be mindful while you walk. You'd be really surprised. It's not only includes like actually opening your eyes really and seeing things, but like, how many shades of green do you see? That's my favorite question to help people get present. But it also kind of helps you to really like kind of scan your body and be in your body, feel the pavement on every part of your foot. That's a mindful walk. And so I know that for like a lot of you going through treatments, it can be so frustrating and boring, especially because you're probably pretty anxious and amped up. And so you want to pound out a good workout, especially if that's one of your coping skills. And so walking just doesn't seem to do it. But there's some of those little tricks that you can try to make walking a little less boring. The other part for me is dancing. So some days I just dance in the shower. It's not really probably safe, and I probably shouldn't do it considering how freaking how clumsy I am. But sometimes that's all my day warrants. But when I think dancing can help, because it doesn't have to be like you jumping around. It can just totally be just like grooving and moving your body in a different way, which means you're going to be burning calories in a different way because you don't usually dance. Just Dance is obviously my favorite, but I think a lot of teams would kind of clear that as an okay exercise. I think for a lot of you, you just have to get over the fact that you're not going to be able to do your normal exercise when you're in treatments. Which the scary part for me for that is that can create stress and emotional distress for you. And I think that can be harmful to your system while you're going through treatments too. And so it's trying to figure out, how can you get that energy out? What do you like to do? How can you move your body? Move your body. I think the other suggestion might be just like an elliptical. I say that because that's kind of sometimes all I'm allowed to do when it comes to keeping my back healthy. So that's pretty low stress on the body. And so you can always do an elliptical. To make it not so boring, I usually watch one of my favorite shows, and I also do like, I don't know, it's kind of stupid, I do a routine on the elliptical. So like for a minute I'll push really, really hard with my hands, and then I'll do a minute regular, and then for the next minute I'll pull really hard with my arms, and then I'll do a minute regular, and then I'll do a minute with only my feet and up the resistance, and then I do a minute regular with everything, and then I do a minute backwards, upping the resistance, and then do a minute regular. So like you get through a 20 to 30 minute workout without just like doing that completely boring. So that's how I change it up. The other part for exercise is yoga. I hated yoga when I first started. Hated it. I do believe I screamed mother effer several times at the top of my lungs, and was like, who the hell thinks this is relaxing? That was like probably 5 years ago. I also learned that I was doing a pretty strenuous kind of yoga, unbeknownst to me. I have since changed up my yoga routine Some of my favorite yoga videos, honestly, are Bethany Frankel's Skinny Girl Yoga. I like her yoga video a lot because she's super vulnerable in it and just like really human. And it's easy but hard at the same time. And you can do 15, 30, or 45-minute workout for a yoga. I also really like Mandy Ingberg, who is Jennifer Aniston's yoga teacher. She combines yoga with a lot of toning. So I love her stuff. And I write about all of those different resources in my ebook that I probably will release in May, sometime after the book launches. It's just like a little like few dollar companion ebook to Ever Upward that I'm only going to release on Amazon for an ebook. And it's just like my self-care, the new stuff that I'm doing in my self-care or new resources that I've discovered. So I'll be sure to post about that. So make sure you follow that. Let's see. The next question, I want to make sure that we're still broadcasting. Okay, yeah, we are. Sorry. So the next question I have is, what advice do you have for your friends who do want to adopt but are concerned about attachment disorders? After she typed, or when she typed me this question, at the end of this question, it literally said, "If you dare, LOL." I'm a pretty ballsy person, so I'm going to dare. I write about attachment disorders in Ever Upward in the Owning Adoption chapter. I admit that as a therapist that was a concern of mine. And one of the reasons, not a significant reason, of why we know adoption is not for us, it's not right for our family. And rest assured, as a mental health therapist with a successful practice and as two financially stable, educated people, it's scary to admit that out loud, that we know adoption's not for us. So what I would say to my friends who are concerned about attachment disorders, first off, would be research it. So read the stuff on it. We do have so much research on attachment disorders now. We really, really do. And to be frank, of the clients in my office, a decent portion of them have some attachment disorder. So you don't have to be adopted or have an adoption story to struggle with attachment disorders. You could have just had a mom who was pretty distant or a dad who was unavailable or whatever. There's lots of reasons. So, so research it. Absolutely research it. My favorite book for attachment disorders is actually called Attached. It's a great resource. I recommend it to a lot of my clients who are in relationship problems or any kind of attachment stuff, and also to families who are going through adoption or have a family member that's been adopted or whatever. It just does a great job of explaining attachment. The biggest thing I would say is seek support. I think that's true for just every family. Like, utilize the support and the resources that are around you. I'm oftentimes saying that to my clients who are going through divorces. Like, we have a great organization here called Kids in the Middle, and it's kind of, I have to beg families to take their kids to Kids in the Middle and utilize the resources that are around you, the people who are trained and educated and have the experience to help with these issues. Utilize their knowledge. And I think that's also true for adoption and for attachment disorders. What I know is that the more we talk about these issues, especially up front, the more we talk about them in the present moment, put them on the dang table, the less we'll struggle with them. Education is power. Education, that knowledge is power. And so I think that's included in adoption and attachment disorders. Basically, you have to do the very best for your own family, and only you know what is right for your family. So you stand by that. One of my good friends has a blog. My Perfect Breakdown is her blog, and I love her blog. And they're starting the adoption process, and I'm learning so much from her, and I'm so thankful for her that she's writing about this process. She actually just posted a YouTube video it was hilarious. I'm going to share it on my social media. I put it in my buffer schedule, basically. But it was called, the idea was an adoptive family was saying that if you're not going to ask this question about a boob job, don't ask it to an adoptive family. And it was hilarious, but so educational and so true, and it was just an awesome. So check it out. It's on YouTube. And My Perfect Breakdown is her blog, which I love. Let's see. Kind of a fun question next. How have your dogs enriched your life? So if you follow me on Instagram, which I would love for you to follow me on Instagram, it's JLBF4, the number 4. So J as in Joy, L as in Lee, because that's my middle name, B as in Brooks, F as in Frank or Froker, and then the number 4. That's my Instagram handle, if that's what they call it. I only use Instagram for what I do. I do 365 grateful. So I post one picture a day that I'm grateful for. So I will readily admit that most of those pictures are of my adorable dogs. My dogs enrich my life in so many ways. They make me laugh every single day. They also frustrate me and exhaust me every single day. So in some ways, they're not probably much unlike your human children, for those of you who get to have human children. I think that we will always have 3 dogs. We had 3 embryos. I don't know. It just feels like that's our family. So there'll be 3 dogs. So it just feels right. We are little dog people. So whenever people ask me about my dogs, I always kind of preface it as like, we're little dog people, because I realize some people hate little dogs, but I grew up with small dogs. Although I did have a huge Great Dane at the daycare I went to as a child, which was incredible, but I'm a small dog person. So we have 3. I talk a little bit about them in the book, especially the puppies, obviously, because they're part of the owning adoption chapter. Bosco is our oldest dog. He's maybe 9-ish now. He is a rescue Chihuahua, we think. We've had him for 8-ish years. He's everybody's favorite, mostly because he is so excellent with kids. It's strange how amazing he is with babies and with children. It's just crazy. He's also quite the asshole, though. It's not uncommon that I look at him and be like, stop being a dick, because he's quite a jerk to his sisters, and he still barks at every single man who comes into our house who is new to him, even though we've had him for 8 years. His first family was not very nice to him. So there's definitely some mostly adult men who would say they hate Bosco, but most people love him. Then there's Gertie and Gracie. Gertie and Gracie are our version of twins. That's what I write about in the book, actually. And they are Chihuahua Min Pin mixes that we rescued, and they're sisters, they're litter mates. And I don't think we will ever not have litter mates after them. They are hilarious. And they're literally just like siblings. They are always touching each other, loving each other, hating each other, and fighting, playing. They just seriously do make us laugh every single day. We actually rescued them the week after, I believe, our second round of IVF did not work. Our second and last round of IVF did not work. And so we rescued them. I write about that rescue in the book. Gracie is the next one in charge. Bosco's the boss, and then there's Gracie. She's the one that looks more like a min pin, and she's the one that totally acts like a puppy. She looks like a puppy. She pounces around like a puppy. Her nails don't grow like a puppy. She is an endless, bottomless pit and always hungry like a puppy. She wants to play all the time. She's our puppy, but she's next in line, pecking order, basically. Then there's Gertie. Gertie looks more like a Chihuahua out of the twins. And she's our cuddle bug. She just loves to cuddle up the most. She does this thing that we call foreheading, that she likes to put her forehead up against yours. If you're holding her or you're sitting with her on your lap or whatever, she just will literally kind of forehead you. She doesn't put her head up against anything else, because I've seen that on Facebook, that's like a thing that's wrong with dogs if they place their head against stuff. It's just she foreheads us. I don't know what it is. She also sits in the most awkward positions ever. You'll occasionally see those pictures on Instagram because they're hilarious pictures. So make sure to follow me on Instagram. It's J as in Justine, L as in Lee, B as in Brooks, F as in Folker, 4. JLBF, the number 4 is what I am on. That's what I am on Instagram. The next question. Why did you change the subtitle? So I did write a blog post about this. The first subtitle of Ever Upward was Overcoming the Lifelong Losses of Infertility to Own a Child-Free Life. And I was adamant about this subtitle. Like bitchy adamant, like the Justine that is super persistent and knows she's right and is not going to give up adamant about that subtitle. Mostly adamant about the term child-free. And what I have figured out is that that's where I was on my journey, which I've talked about like 2 weeks, or when we first did the first book club, I talked about the difference between childless and child-free, and why I use the term childful to describe my life. But what I have figured out is the child-free term for that first subtitle, it's where I was on the journey. I was having a really difficult time being referred to as childless, and I still do. It just feels really negative. And frankly, surviving infertility and dealing with the lifelong losses of it is negative enough. I don't need to be called childless. And I am not less of a woman because I am childless. So I started using the term child-free because I didn't like the word childless. And also I will admit, like where I am in my journey now, like some days I have to actively work on accepting this child-free life. And there's days that some days I really miss those babies and wish that they were here. But part of my recovery has to include a child-free life and embracing the perks that come with that, because it does. I can sleep till 8 or 9 or 10 on the weekends if I want to. You know, like, and so there is that part of me that like child-free can describe where women like me are at, because I have to work a certain level of acceptance. I have to work active acceptance to accept that I don't get to have kids, and that means I have a child-free lifestyle, but it's not without sadness and loss and things like that. And so that's why I call my